In auditing, if you don't identify the risk, you can't respond to it. Everything we do, every sample we pick, every balance we verify, is a response to a perceived risk. The ISO 300-499 series represents the engine room of the audit. This is where we plan our strategy, assess the landscape, and design our response. Today, we're breaking down the standards that ensure our audit effort is focused exactly where it's needed most. It starts with ISO 300, planning and audit. Planning isn't a box you tick at the start of the year, it's a continuous and iterative process. ISO 300 requires us to establish an overall audit strategy. We need to define the scope, the reporting objectives, and the team's direction. A well-planned audit isn't just about efficiency, it's about effectiveness. It ensures that senior team members are focusing on the high-risk areas from day one. Now, we get to the core, ISA 315, revised 2019. This is arguably the most important standard in the handbook. It requires us to identify and assess the risks of material misstatement by understanding the entity and its environment. In 2026, this means looking deep into the business model, the use of IT, and the inherent risk factors like complexity or subjectivity. We assess risk at two levels, the financial statement level, which is pervasive, and the assertion level, where we look at specific transactions and balances. If you don't understand the controls, you can't understand the risk. But how do we know what matters? That's ISO 320, materiality. Materiality is the threshold of what would influence the economic decisions of a user. We set overall materiality, but we also set performance materiality. Think of performance materiality as a safety buffer. We set it lower than overall materiality to reduce the risk that the total of uncorrected and undetected misstatements exceeds the limit we've set for the whole file. Part 5, the response, ISO 330, visual, an arrow moving from assessed risk to audit procedures. Once the risks are identified and the thresholds are set, we move to ISO 330, the auditor's responses. This is where the rubber meets the road. If we assess a risk as high, our response must be robust. This standard gives us two main tools, tests of controls and substantive procedures. Even if we trust the controls, ISA 330 reminds us that substantive procedures are mandatory for all material items. Our response must be a direct reflection of the risks we found in the 315 phase. Finally, we look at the results. If the entity uses a service organization, like a third-party payroll provider, ISO 402 tells us how to audit those off-site controls. Then, ISA 450 guides us in evaluating the misstatements we found. We accumulate everything that isn't clearly trivial and evaluate their aggregate effect. If the total uncorrected misstatements are material, the audit opinion must reflect that. It's the final check to ensure the financial statements are faithfully represented. The 300-499 series teaches us that an audit is a living thing. If you find something new in the middle of your testing, you go back, you reassess the risk, and you change your plan. Mastering these standards makes you more than a compliance officer, it makes you a strategic analyst of business risk. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in our next deep dive into audit evidence.